Today, we are diving headfirst into some of history's greatest unsolved puzzles. You know those stories that just stop? The questions that have been echoing for centuries with no answer in sight. We're going to explore them by trying to build a kind of framework, looking at three big categories: people who just vanished, artifacts that shouldn't exist, and huge gaping holes in the historical record.
It's a pretty deep question when you think about it, isn't it? We love stories with a nice, neat beginning, middle, and end. But history, well, it's packed with tales that are all middle, leaving us hanging on this perpetual cliffhanger. And these aren't just little anecdotes, they're genuine gaps in our collective memory. And that's the perfect way to put it. That's exactly what we're doing today. We're going to sift through some of those torn pages and try to peek into those missing chapters. What makes these events so incredibly compelling isn't just that we don't have an answer, it's all the wild possibilities that rush in to fill that empty space.
So instead of just running down a list of famous mysteries, we're going to try to build a framework to understand them. We're going to sort these historical puzzles into a few different buckets to see what they all have in common and maybe, just maybe, figure out why they remain so stubbornly unsolved.
Okay, our first category is probably the most dramatic one of all: the vanishings. I mean, these are the stories of people who were here 1 minute and completely gone the next, leaving behind absolutely nothing but questions.
The key phrase right there is without a verifiable explanation. It's not just that people left or moved on, it's that they seemingly evaporated from history itself. Think of the lost colony of Roanoke, or the crew of the Mary Celeste, or even the mind-boggling collapse of the Indus Valley civilization. Poof, gone. This is basically the perfect recipe for a mystery that lasts forever. First, it all starts with a sudden, shocking disappearance. Then, there's almost no physical evidence left behind, which creates this vacuum. And into that vacuum rush all these competing theories. Some are plausible, some are completely wild. And finally, time just does its thing, washing away any remaining clues and cementing the whole thing into legend.
So let's move from missing people to found objects. But these aren't just any objects. This category is all about artifacts that basically challenge everything we think we know about the past, just by existing. You can touch them, you can hold them, but they make zero sense where they were found.
Yep, there's a name for them: out-of-place artifacts, or OOP-ARTs for short. And that name just nails the dilemma. The problem isn't the thing itself, it's the where and the when. These things suggest a level of technology or culture that, according to our neat and tidy timelines, just shouldn't have been possible back then.
This chart really gets to the heart of the conflict. So, on one side, you have what we see, a complex, gear-filled mechanical device. On the other side, you have where it doesn't belong, a shipwreck from ancient Greece. We see these strange, intricate metal spheres, but they're found in rock layers from prehistoric times. Each one is basically a paradox, frozen in time. And this leads us to the million-dollar question. Are these things breadcrumbs left behind by some lost, super-advanced civilization? Are they proof of time travel, like some people believe? Or, and this is probably more likely, do they just show us how much we still don't know about history and how incredibly ingenious our ancestors actually were?
Okay, for our last category, we're going to zoom way, way out. We're moving from a single object to entire chunks of time that just went dark. These are the broken timelines, the huge voids in the historical record where for hundreds of years the story, well, it just stops.
A historical gap, what's often called a dark age, is pretty much a historian's worst nightmare. It's a time when the lights just went out across civilization. Empires collapsed, people forgot how to write, cities were abandoned, leaving us with almost nothing to go on. It's not just a missing chapter anymore. This is like an entire volume got ripped out of the book of history. The Late Bronze Age collapse is a perfect and, honestly, a kind of terrifying example. So around 1250 BCE, you've got these huge, thriving, interconnected empires all over the Mediterranean. The Mycenaeans, the Hittites, you name it. Then, bam! Just 50 years later, a wave of destruction just tears across the entire region. And for the next 300 years, almost total silence in the record. We have theories, sure, invasions, climate change, plagues, but the sheer speed and scale of it all remains a massive mystery.
So we've looked at the vanishings, the artifacts, and the broken timelines. But what's the common thread here? Why do these secrets stay locked away, even with all of our amazing modern technology and research?
When you boil it all down, studying history is really a fight against time itself. Evidence just decays, wood rots, paper burns, things disappear.
The records that do survive are almost always biased. History is written by the winners, right? Then you have catastrophes, fires, floods, wars that just wipe out priceless knowledge. And whatever little is left over, we have to look at it through our own modern eyes with our own biases. Honestly, it's a miracle we know anything at all.
And maybe that's the real point of all this. Maybe the goal isn't always to find the answer. Maybe it's about understanding why the mystery exists in the first place. What does the question itself tell us about how fragile civilization is, how much we can really know, and just how vast the past that we've lost forever truly is?
And that brings me to one last thought. Just imagine historians 1,000 years from now sifting through our digital dust, our memes, our forgotten hard drives. What will they get totally wrong about us? What parts of our lives, what we believe in, what we do, what will seem like an out-of-place artifact or a complete, baffling vanishing to them? Maybe the greatest mystery of all is just our own moment in time, seen from the long view of the future.